How you doing there? Welcome back to Babble on Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Zayin, Daf 67 of MASECHTA Zevachim. Friends, oh boy. Okay, Daf 67 is going to be really, really interesting. There's going to be a long version of Daf 67 and a short version of Daf 67, and it's up to you to choose which one you'd like. Let me explain why. What was that sound? Was there a sound I should be concerned about? Okay, there are basically two sections to Daf Zayin. The first section is when an olas ha-oaf is treated as a chatas ha-oaf. Okay, we learned about this in the Mishnah that at the end of the Daf yesterday. A machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua about an olas ha-oaf that is handled below the chut sikra with the intention of a chatas, as a chatas kilu, an olas ha-oaf that's basically offered as a chatas. What happens? So we're the first part of the daf. We're gonna kind of go deeper into that machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. Now, the second half of the daf, I don't even know if it's half is what to say, but MASECHTA KINIM, Shish, MASECHTA KINIM. Does anybody know about MASECHTA KINIM? MASECHTA KINIM is a Masechta that we're going to learn together in about a year and a half. MASECHTA KINIM has a reputation for being exceedingly difficult. MASECHTA KINIM has a reputation for being exceedingly difficult. It's the kind of thing that, like, you hear people say, like they were learning Shas Mishnais, they were like getting through all of Shas, and then they got to MASECHTA KINIM, and they just threw in the towel. MASECHTA KINIM is all about probabilities. About probabilities. And oh boy. Yeah, I don't know when I should discuss it now, discuss it later. We'll get to it later. But basically, MASECHTA KINIM is all about probabilities. It's all of 15 Mishnayos. The whole MASECHTA KINIM, it's three prakim, it's all 15 Mishnayos, MASECHTA KINIM, and yet it has this reputation of being the most impossible Masechta. Now, we're going to learn 3 of those Mishnayos today. So 3 of 15 is 20%. We're going to learn 20% of like the most impossible Masechta today. Now, I've made tons of diagrams. Lots and lots of diagrams. So I hope that that's going to make it easier. It's also 1:15 in the morning. I was really hoping to record this stuff at like 5 or 6 in the afternoon, but I spent like 10 hours making diagrams. So the long version of the daf is going to be, if you listen to me going on about things right now, and primarily also if you want to kind of go through all the kinim stuff and understand what's going on. The short version is you can really just kind of skip the kinim stuff. You can just kind of, you can kind of like go through the kinim stuff on like you don't really have to go into all the details of the kinim stuff, I guess, to technically get the question and answer of the Gemara. But anyways, that was a very long introduction of way to say, let's jump into this daf, and it's going to be an interesting one. All right, friends, we're going to begin on Daf Zayin Amid Aleph at the Gemara, about 10 lines in, right? We learned the Mishnah yesterday, and now we are going to learn the Gemara. Tanya says the Gemara. Says Rabbi Eliezer to Bishua. Okay, one second. So let us remember what we are talking about over here. Now, in our Mishnah from yesterday, if you look 4 lines into the Mishnah at the end of the daf yesterday, okay, so about 4 lines into that Mishnah, it says, olas ha-oaf, she'asah lemata, k'maaseh chatas, l'shem chatas, Rabbi Eliezer, omer mo'alim ba, Rabbi Yoshua, ein mo'alim ba. This is the big machlokes here between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yoshua. If you have an olas ha-oaf, now of course an olas ha-oaf needs to be performed above the chut sikra. Now what if you have an olas ha-oaf, but instead you perform it below the chut sikra, which is the chatas ha-oaf zone, and you have the intention of a chatas ha-oaf, and you do the maaseh of a chatas ha-oaf, you only, right, with the malika is only one simon as opposed to decapitating the head. So you basically have this olas ha-oaf and you do everything as though it was a chatas ha-oaf. Rabbi Eliezer says, okay, well, it's basically a puzzle olas ha-oaf, right? We had learned in a Mishnah yesterday, not this Mishnah, but the Mishnah before this that we learned yesterday, that in olas ha-oaf, if any parts of it, if it's in olas ha-oaf that is performed below the chut sikra, well then it's puzzle, and here it's being below the chut sikra. It's a puzzle olas ha-oaf, and there is a din me'ilah, says Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua says there's no din me'ilah. Rabbi Yeshua says there's no din me'ilah, and this is the question is why. We got into it a little bit yesterday. We'll get into it more today. And this is the machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, that when you have a olas ha-oaf that is performed as though it was a chatas ha-oaf, what happens? Rabbi Eliezer says there is a din me'ilah. Rabbi Yeshua says there's no din me'ilah. And then we saw in the Mishnah yesterday, now we have a similar kind of dialogue now between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, going back and forth as to whether there should be me'ilah or shouldn't be me'ilah by this olas ha-oaf that is done as though it were a chatas ha-oaf. So now says the Gemara, Tanya Amar lo Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua. So says Rabbi Eliezer to Rabbi Yeshua, Osham sheshchatu batzofin l'shem shlom yochiach. Says Rabbi Eliezer to Rabbi Yeshua, let me ask you a question. You're saying that this olas ha-oaf that's performed as a chatas ha-oaf, there's no din me'ilah. But what about if you have, for example, in Asham, a korban Asham. Korban Asham is kachim kachim. There's me'ilah by kachim kachim. Sheshchatu batzafon, that's slaughtered in the north of the Azar. L'shem shlamim, but as a shlamim. Yochiach, so that will be a proof. Sheshines shmo umeyalim bo. That even though you have this Asham, now Asham is kachim kachim. Kachim kachim has a din me'ilah. Kachim kalim does not have a din me'ilah. So meaning, if you have to bring, let's say, a korban chatas, which is kachim kachim, and you said, or we're using asham as an example, so let's stick with asham. So if a person needs to bring a korban asham, and they find a ram or whatever, and they say, you're going to be my korban asham. So from that point on, that animal is hektish, and if you get benefit from the animal, it's me'ilah, you have to bring an asham ilos. However, if the same was done for a shlamim, if a person has to bring a korban, a person says, I'm going to bring a korban shlamim, and they find the sheep, and they say, I'm going to bring the sheep as a korban shlamim, you could still get benefit from that animal. There would not be a din me'ilah if you get benefit from that animal. By kachim kalim, there's no din me'ilah. There's one exception to that, which is after the zrikas adam, when you have the part of the shlom that is burnt on the mizbeach for Hashem. At that point, just those emurim have a din me'ilah, but the meat will never have a din me'ilah. But in asham is kachim, which means that already from the time that you say, I'm going to bring this animal as an asham, it has a din me'ilah. So now, says Rabbi Eliezer, if you have a korban asham, and you slaughter it in the Azar, in the north of the Azar, as an Asham is supposed to be slaughtered, but with the intention of a Shlamim. So even though you have intention for something that does not have a Din Me'ilah, Shlamim doesn't have a Din Me'ilah, but still, this Asham will still have a Din Me'ilah. Vafata altitama. And therefore you, Rabbi Yoshua, should not be so surprised ala ola, with regard to this ola, shafapi shashina shimo shimaluba, that even though a person is slaughtering this korban ola as a this olas ha-oaf, person is handling this olas ha-oaf as though it were a chatas, it's still going to have a din me'ilah, argues Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Yeshua responds to Rabbi Eliezer, Lema Omar be'asham Shemshina es shmo, loshina es mikomo. Says Rabbi Yeshua, look, but the thing is, by the asham you said that sure you're offering the asham as the shlamim, but you were slaughtering it in the north. Slaughtering in the north of the Azara is where Ashams are supposed to be slaughtered. But here, Tomai ba'ola sheshina shma v'shina is mekoma. But here by the olas ha-oaf, you're not just saying that I'm going to handle it as a chatas ha-oaf. You're also handling it below the chuta sikra, which is a different place altogether. The olas ha-oaf is supposed to be handled above the chuta sikra. The chatas ha-oaf is handled below the chuta sikra, and you're handling this olas ha-oaf below the chuta sikra. So it's not just that you're changing it from an olas ha-oaf to chatas ha-oaf, you're also changing its location. Amalei Rabbi Eliezer, fine. And this is no big deal. If you take an ashram and you slaughter it in the south of the Azar, which is not the place where kachim are slaughtered, only kachim kalim can be slaughtered there, and you slaughter an ashram in the south of the Azar as this ashram in the south of the Azar as a shlamim, shashina es shma v'shina es mekomo. So you're not just changing the name of the korban, you're not just changing that. I'm not offering a shlam, an ashram, I'm offering a shlam. And he also changed the location from north to south. And still there would be a din me'ila on this animal. If you get any benefit from this meat, so there will be a din me'ila. I guess before Zrika Saddam. After Zrika Saddam, then I imagine that it would have a shasat to lakwanim. But anyways, but there would still principally be a din me'ila, even though shlamim wouldn't have a din me'ila until after Zrika Saddam. Here we're saying there would be a din me'ila, just like an ashram would have a din me'ila until after Zrika Saddam. So afata atatama, therefore, Rabbi Shua, you shouldn't be so surprised ala ola on this olas ha-oaf shafal bishashines shma vishines mekoma, that even though you're changing the name from olas ha-oaf to chatas ha-oaf, and the place from above the chuta sikra to below the chuta sikra, me'alim ba argues Rabbi Eliezer there should still be a din me'ila. Amalei Rabbi Yeshua fires back. Lo imamad be'asham sheshina es shmo v'shina es mekomo v'lo shina es ma'isa. That by in asham, sure, you changed its name to a shlamim. You changed its place from the north to the south. But the actual things that you're doing, the actual ma'aseh stays the same. There's nothing unique about how you're offering it. Right? By the olas ha-oaf, there are differences when you offer it as a chatas ha-oaf. For example, the malika. The malika is going to be one siman as opposed to two simanim. There's also differences in terms of the hazoah sadam and the mitzui. So look, when it comes to the ashram that you're slaughtering as a shlamim, so sure, you're changing the name, ashram shlamim. You're changing the place, north of the Azar, south of the Azar. But the actual slaughtering of the animal is going to be exactly the same. Nothing's changing there. Tomar ba'ola, and so, but by an ola, sheshina es shma, v'shina, you could change the order over here. V'shina es mekoma, you're changing its name, you're changing its place. Ves ma'aseh, and you're also changing its actions. You're actually offering it differently. The malika is only one siman, for example. And to that, Rabbi Eliezer does not respond. To that, Rabbi Eliezer does not respond. He doesn't continue to challenge Rabbi Yeshua. He's going to drink a stick of water. So now says Ravid, Ravid v'nemalei, says Ravid, wait a second. But Rabbi Yeshua, why is Rabbi Eliezer giving up the fight? Rabbi Eliezer can continue to press Rabbi Yeshua and say, V'nemalei Osham sheshchato bidarim. Okay, an Osham that's slaughtered in the south of the Azar, l'shem shlam, an Osham slaughtered in the south of the Azar as a shlam, b'shinoi bailin, for a different person. Sheshina es shmo, v'shina es mekom, v'shina es ma'asav. That you're changing the name from Osham to shlam, and the place from the north of the Azar to south of the Azar, and the fact that you're slaughtering it for somebody else would be considered a shinoi ma'aseh. And still there would be me'ila by this ashram. And therefore Rabbi Eliezer can ask Rabbi Yeshua, so Rabbi Yeshua, there should still be a din me'ila by this olas ha-oaf. And continues Rave, Midiloko Amar Leochi, from the fact that Rabbi Eliezer does not press Rabbi Yehoshua like this. Shmamina, what do we learn? Nochas Rabbi Eliezer l'taimid Rabbi Yehoshua. Rabbi Eliezer realized, Nafalo Asimon, something clicked there for Rabbi Eliezer. And he realized, wait a second. This machlokes, Rabbi Yehoshua's opinion here runs deeper than just, is there me'ila, isn't there me'ila? Rabbi Eliezer, to this point, has been focusing on, is there me'ila, isn't there me'ila, right? An ola should have a din me'ila, an osham neshlam have a din me'ila, the ola as a chatas should have a din me'ila. But at a certain point, Rabbi Eliezer realized, wait a second. Rabbi Yehoshua is not focusing on, is there me'ila, isn't there me'ila? According to Rabbi Yehoshua, there's something deeper going on. What's the thing that's deeper going on that Rabbi Eliezer realized? To Omer Rav Ada bar Ahava, that says Rav Ada bar Ahava, Omer Rabbi Yehoshua would say, olas ha-oaf shasar l'mata k'maaseh chatas shem chatas, that in this scenario, when an olas ha-oaf is offered below the chut sikra as a chatas, with maaseh chatas, kiven shemolak b'siman echad, once he does malika on that first siman, right, either the trachea, the esophagus, nimsheches v'naisis chatas ha-oaf. It becomes a chatas ha-oaf. Do you hear this? You know, Rabbi Eliezer was approaching this machlokas, assuming that Rabbi Yehoshua agrees with him that it's still an olas ha-oaf. It's just a pasul olas ha-oaf. Kilu, you know, the Mishnah that we saw yesterday had said that an olas ha-oaf, that is, let's read the Mishnah. What did the Mishnah say about olas ha-oaf? It says, asal lemata k'maaseh kulam psula, that if an olas ha-oaf is performed below the chut sikra, even if it was l'shem ola, k'maaseh ola, mamish, everything as an ola, but below the chut sikra, pasul. So Rabbi Eliezer assumed that he and Rabbi Yehoshua were on the same page. That look, you have this ola that's being performed below the chut sikra. Of course, it's pasul. And Rabbi Eliezer is saying, so of course, it's a din me'ila. It's an ola. It's pasul. This is a din me'ila. Rabbi Yehoshua is saying, no, this is not a din me'ila. And Rabbi Eliezer was pressing Rabbi Yehoshua. Why not? I mean, after it's a pasul ola, there should be a din me'ila. And then Rabbi Eliezer realized that, wait a second. No. Rabbi Yehoshua is not viewing it as a pasul ola. He's viewing it as a chatas ha-oaf. Why is he viewing it as a chatas ha-oaf? We'll get more to that in a second. But actually, before we get to the why, let's just get to the what. Rabbi Yehoshua is saying that if you have an olas ha-oaf, which is supposed to be offered above the chut sikra, obviously with the intention of an ola, and decapitating its head, for example, as well, a maaseh ola. But if that same ola was offered below the chut sikra, which is where a chatas should be offered, with the intention of it being a chatas ha-oaf, and you only sever one of the simanim, i.e., you take action on the bird as though it was a chatas ha-oaf, it becomes a chatas ha-oaf. It becomes a chatas ha-oaf according to Rabbi Yehoshua. It's not a pasul ola. It's a kosher chatas ha-oaf. And a chatas ha-oaf is eaten by the Kohanim. And since it has a shas heter la-Kohanim, which is halacha by me'ila, that whenever there's a din me'ila, once it becomes permitted to the Kohanim, so for example, korban chatas. Chatas is kodshei kodshim. From the time you set aside the animal as a din me'ila, but once you do zrikas adam, you slaughter, you do zrikas adam, and the Kohanim are allowed to eat the meat, as a shas heter la-Kohanim, it's no longer as a din me'ila. So therefore, says Rabbi Yehoshua, once already you're offering this bird as a chatas ha-oaf, it no longer has a din me'ila. So Rabbi Eliezer realized that Rabbi Yehoshua is not viewing it like he's viewing it that it's a pasul olas ha-oaf. No, it's no longer an olas ha-oaf b'chlal, it's a kosher chatas ha-oaf. and it has a shaset to the Kohanim can eat it, and therefore there's no longer a din me'ilah. Again, the Amar Vada Bar Ava says, Vada Bar Ava, Rabbi Yeshua would say that olas ha-oaf shasad lamata k'maaseh chatas l'shem chatas, that an olas ha-oaf that is offered below the chut ha-sikra with the intention of a chatas and with actions of a chatas, with the malika of a chatas, only severing one of the simanim. Once you do the malika on just one of the simanim and don't decapitate it, so at that point it mamish becomes a chatas ha-oaf. And that's why there's no din me'ilah. If that's the case, let's say that the inverse is also true. That a chatas ha-oaf that is offered above the chut ha-sikra with the intention of in ola, and you decapitate its head, it should be in ola. Right? If a ola that's below the chut ha-sikra as a chatas is a chatas, let's say the inverse as well. A chatas that's above the chut ha-sikra as an ola should be an ola. Again, if so, chatas ha-oaf, if you have a chatas ha-oaf, that is done above the chut ha-sikra, kimaisei ola, as an ola, right? So chatas ha-oaf above the chut ha-sikra as an ola, and then you can add, there's a guess that adds be'idach simon, then when you do the other simon, timashach davi olas ha-oaf. Basically the point is that a chatas, we should say the inverse, a chatas that's offered above the chut ha-sikra as an ola, and you decapitate its head, it should be an ola. And if you're going to say, okay, sure, no problem, but Rabbi Yochanan says in the name of Rabbanah that this is our Mishnah, meaning that whatever is said in our Mishnah is said, and whatever is not said, meaning in our Mishnah we have a machlokas between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, specifically by where a olas ha-oaf is offered below the chut ha-sikra as a chatas ha-oaf. It doesn't say anything about the inverse, and therefore whatever it says in the Mishnah is what is, and whatever isn't said isn't. And if the machlokas in the Mishnah between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Eliezer is by an olas ha-oaf offered below the chut ha-sikra, that's what the machlokas is not by the inverse. So my love, that this is, that what's said in our Mishnah is where the machlokas is and nowhere else. No. You could say kula Mishnah. Then no, this is basically, you can apply this to the entire Mishnah. I think the point is that you can basically apply it to all the concepts in the Mishnah. And if we're going to say that the olas ha-oaf lamata is done as a chatas is a chatas, so say the inverse as well. That a chatas ha-oaf above the chut ha-sikra as an ola becomes an ola. Okay, so the Gemara says, sure, no problem. But Rav Ashi, Amar says Rav Ashi, no. It is specifically, it only works in one direction. It is specifically an olas ha-oaf lamata michut ha-sikra as a chatas becomes a chatas, not the inverse. How come? Rav Ashi Omar bishlama olas ha-oaf she'asad lamata k'maaseh chatas shem chatas. I need a drink. Excuse me. Says Rav Ashi, look, when it comes to an olas ha-oaf that is done below the chut ha-sikra and it's performed as a chatas with the intention of a chatas, kevon the ha-echsher b'siman echad v'echsher b'shnei simanim ve'olas ha-oaf lamata leisa kevon the malak b'siman echad m'sheches v'naisis chatas ha-oaf. That here's the thing. When a chatas ha-oaf, the malika is just one of the simanim. In olas ha-oaf, its malika is you have to decapitate the whole head. So once already you do malika on that first siman, and you cut through the first siman, either the trachea or the esophagus, on the bird, well, you've already done a kosher malika for a chatas ha-oaf. You haven't yet done a malika that's relevant for an olas ha-oaf. So basically the point is, you've already checked off all the boxes for a kosher chatas ha-oaf before it's even registered as a pasul olas ha-oaf. Right, an olas ha-oaf that's done below the chut sikra. So we said it's pasul. The thing is, if you do it below the chut sikra with the intention of a chatas, and you do the malika of a chatas, you've already checked off all the boxes of a chatas below the chut sikra, l'shem chatas, malika on one siman, and it hasn't yet even registered yet to be a pasul olas ha-oaf, because the malika that would be necessary for an olas ha-oaf is decapitation, and you haven't done that. So before it registers as a pasul olas ha-oaf, it's already registered and checked off all the boxes of a kosher chatas ha-oaf, so we treat it as such. Again, right, so Rav Ashi Omer b'shlama olas ha-oaf she'asar lamata k'maaseh chatas l'shem chatas. Look, when it's an olas ha-oaf that's below the chut sikra, as a chatas, right, performed with the maaseh chatas, with the intention of a chatas, given the ha-echsher b'siman echad v'echsher b'shnei simanin, that since the malika of a chatas is one siman, but the malika of an ola, you're going to have to decapitate that, do both simanin. The olas ha-oaf lemata leisa, and there is no olas ha-oaf below the chut sikra. Where am I? I'm sorry, I lost my place. Where the heck am I? Okay, lemata leisa. So came in the malak ba simon echad. So once, right? So there is no olas ha-oaf below the chut sikra. So once you've offered this bird below the chut sikra, and you've done malika on one of the simanim already, nimshechas v'naises chatas ha-oaf, we say, you know what? This is simply a chatas ha-oaf. But ela chatas ha-oaf, but the inverse, a chatas ha-oaf that would be offered as an olas ha-oaf above the chut sikra, came into Amar Ma'as, since we said malika b'chol makom kshera. Well, we had said that malika could be done anywhere. Malika, it's no problem if the malika of a chatas ha-oaf is done above the chut sikra. We said the malika could be done above the chut sikra, below the chut sikra, no problem. So therefore, when you have a chatas ha-oaf above the chut sikra, and you do the malika once already one siman has been cut, well, that's already a kosher malika for a chatas. It's not yet a valid malika for an ola. You would have to decapitate it and get through both of the simanim for an ola. So basically what happens is, you have a chatas ha-oaf that you're doing above the chut sikra. Once you get through one of the simanim, it's already registers as the malika for a chatas, but that's a chatas that was done above the chut sikra. And we're saying that you have intention for an ola, as we know already from the first Mishnah, a chatas that is l'shem ola is pasul. So therefore it's going to be a pasul chatas. Again, if you have a, right, if we're talking about the inverse, if you have a chatas that is above the chut sikra where it's not supposed to be, and you do the malika through through the first siman, so the malika is a kosher malika, because malika could be done anywhere in the mizbeach. But now what you have is a chatas that was done above the chut sikra. L'shem ola, it's just a pasul chatas. So if it's pasul ki hadar malik beidach siman, when you then do malika on the other siman, heichim mimshach avila olas ha-oaf. How at that point it's already a pasul chatas. How when you move forward and decapitate the bird, would it all of a sudden become a kosher olas ha-oaf? No, at that point it's already a pasul chatas. However, when you have an olas ha-oaf that you do below the chut sikra, and you do the malika of a chatas, l'shem chatas, the one siman, you haven't yet done the proper malika for an ola, and yet you've already ticked off all the boxes for a chatas, it becomes a chatas ha-oaf. So that's the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yeshua says that when you have an olas ha-oaf that is performed below the chut sikra with the intention, with l'shem chatas, and you do the malika of a chatas, it becomes a chatas, and that's why Rabbi Yeshua says that there is no me'ila, because it's a chatas off, and there won't be any me'ila. But the inverse is not the case. All right, friends, don't skip to the end yet. I'll tell you when you can skip if you want to. Gufa, Omer Ravada Bar Hava, said Ravada Bar Hava. Omer Rabbi Yeshua would say, olas ha-oaf, she'asar lamata, that if you have a olas ha-oaf that is done below the chut sikra, K'maisei chatas, as a chatas, a shem chatas, with the intention of it being a chatas, kim chamalak b'simin echad, imshechas v'naisis chatas ov, it becomes a chatas ov. Okay. So if we're saying, if it's so, that according to Rabbi Yeshua, that in olas ha'of, that is done below the chut sikra, becomes a chatas ov, well, let me ask you some questions from MASECHTA KINIM. Again, Chevra, don't skip yet. I'll tell you when you can skip. This part isn't yet hard. Tashma, come in here. Chatas lazo va'ola lazo. Also stehen lemala mechza kosher mechza pasol. Stehen lemata mechza kosher mechza pasol. Achas v'achas lemata stehen psula. Shani omer chatas kreva lemala va'ola kreva lemata. Did I create a slide for this one? No. I did not create a slide for this one. Yeah, because this one isn't actually hard. Okay, so let's say you have Rachel and Leah. Rachel has Rachel has a chata. Okay, no problem. So you have Rachel and Leah. Rachel has a chatas ha-oaf. Leah has an olas ha-oaf. And I guess I'll assume that it's talking about this. So let's say it's okay. First of all, what is kinim? What's kinim? I'll give you one in. You could look at my face. Kinim is a nest. Now it's also lice. I hope that I don't have lice. I hope I don't have kinim in my kinim. A kain is a nest. And specifically in the case of MASECHTA KINIM, it's talking about nests of birds for korbanos. So, for example, if you have a yoledes, let's say she gives birth to a boy, so at the end of 40 days, she brings a ola and a chatas. So now, if she can afford it, the ola would be a keves, and then the chatas is a bird. It's a turtle dove or a young dove. I think I made a mistake the other day, right? Torim are turtle doves and Bnei Yonah are young doves. Now, I hope I translated it properly this time. So now, if a woman can't afford it, then she brings two. Let's say, she'll bring a nest, right? A nest of, let's say, turtle doves or of young doves, right? So let's say turtle doves. So she brings a nest of turtle doves. Now, in each nest, there are two birds. So for a woman who can't afford it, so she'll bring a nest, two birds. One will be an ola, and one will be a chatas. So now you have these two women, Rachel and Leah, who split a nest, let's say, and one bird each. So now Rachel needs to bring a chatas, Leah needs to bring an ola. So Rachel says, okay, this bird is going to be my chatas. Leah says, okay, and this bird is going to be my ola. Amazing. So now, chatas, lazo v'ola lazo, so Rachel's got a korban chatas, Leah's got a korban ola. Also shtein l'mayla. Now, if the kohen who was offering these birds offered both of them above the chut sikra. Now, what's above the chut sikra and ola? If he offers them both as olas, well, then mechza kosher, mechza pasol. Leah's ola is kosher. Rachel's chatas is pasol, because as we know from the first mission in the parak, a chatas that's above the chut sikra is pasol. Shtein lemata mechza kosher mechza pasol, and similarly, if the kohen offered both of the birds below the chut sikra, well then Rachel's chatas is kosher, but Leah's ola is pasol. How come? Because a ola that's below the chut sikra is pasol. Achas lemala v'achas lemata shtein psulis. Shani omer chatas karva lemala v'ola karva lemata. Now, if the kohen offered one of them above and one of them below, you see, because interesting. So when it comes to kinim, you see what Rachel and Leah did is not advised. Is not advised to decide in advance which one's the chatas and which one's the olah. It's risky. Because why is it risky? Because, well, I'll tell you why it's risky by saying what we do advise, which is not to set either of one, predetermine either of them as either the chatas or the olah, and leave it up to the kohen. Just the kohen will just get a nest, 2 birds, and he could decide. He says, okay, I'm going to offer this one as a chatas, below the chutas sikra, this one as an olah, above the chutas sikra. Leave it up to the kohen. That way you don't run the risk of, oh no, the one that was supposed to be an olah was offered as a chatas, the one that was supposed to be a chatas was offered as an olah. You just avoid all of that if you don't set anything aside in advance. Let the kohen take care of it. But in this case, they did set it aside in advance. Right? Rachel said, this is going to be my chatas. Leah said, this is going to be my olah. Now the kohen didn't know that, and he took one of them. We don't know which one. Took one of them, offered as a chatas, the other one offered as a olah. One above the chutas sikra, one below the chutas sikra. Now MASECHTA KINIM, you're always finding the worst possible scenario, the worst possible outcome, and working, and assuming that the worst possible outcome happened, and picking up the pieces from there. So what's the worst possible outcome? That the chatas, that Rachel's chatas, which was supposed to be offered below the chutas sikra, is the one that the kohen offered above the chutas sikra as an olah, and vice versa. Leah's olah that was supposed to be above the chutas sikra was the one that the kohen offered below the chutas sikra as a chatas, and therefore, right. So if the kohen offered one above and one below, we have to assume that neither one of them was offered as they wanted. Rachel's chatas doesn't work, Leah's olah doesn't work, and they have to do it over. But how come? Ni'inami de olah kreva limata. Granted, right, because we said that we have to be concerned, right, in terms of Leah's olah, we have to be concerned that maybe it was offered below the chutas sikra, and therefore she's not yotze. But so what? Ni'inami de olah kreva karva limata. Even if Leah's olah was offered below the chutas sikra, timashich v'tiavi chatas ha-oaf. If according to Rabbi Yoshua, an olah that's offered below the chutas sikra as a chatas is a chatas, okay, well, there you have it. Leah's olah. Wait, fakir. Rachel's chatas. Right, so even if Rachel had to bring a korban chatas, and we're saying that, well, Rachel's chatas was above the chutas sikra, but so what? Leah's olah was offered below the chutas sikra, so let's say that it becomes a chatas, so Rachel's chatas should be sorted out. Why does she have to bring a new one? So Emud Amar Rabbi Yeshua b'chad gavra b'trei gavra mi Amar. Look, I'll say that Rabbi Yeshua is talking about one person. Kilu, if a person, I guess, needs to bring an olah and a chatas, and the person's olah was offered as a chatas, okay, nish gefährlich can count for his chatas. But over here, where like Rachel brought a bird to be offered as a chatas, Leah's olah being offered as a chatas is not going to work for Rachel's chatas. One person who had to bring a olah and also had to bring a chatas, and the olah was offered below chutas sikra as a chatas, you know what? It can count for his chatas. Great. But Leah's olah that was offered below the chutas sikra as a chatas can't work for Rachel. Givaldi. Gonna drink a little bit more water. Okay, now we start getting into charts and things like that. So if you want to skip to the end, you can kind of skip to the end. I'll tell you briefly. Basically, we're going to ask a kasha from another Mishnah in Kinim and say, well, if you're going to say that Mishnah isn't Rabbi Yoshua, well, then I'll prove from the next Mishnah that it is Rabbi Yoshua, And then that basically gets to the end. You can kind of skip to the end and see how the Gemara ends. But if you want to stick around and see what Masechta Kinim is all about and learn the daf, well, we're gonna move on. So now, okay, Gevaldud. So we had asked from one question. We had asked a question for one Mishnah in Masechta Kinim that shouldn't we be considering an ola that's below the chut sikra as a chatas? We should treat it as a chatas. We say, yeah, but we can't have Leah's ola turning into Rachel's chatas. Okay, fine. Tashma, come in here. Chatas ve'ola v'stuma u'miforeshes. Ooh. Asukun lemala mechza kosher mechza pasol. Ooh. Kun lemata mechza kosher mechza pasol. Chetzin lemala v'chetzin lemata eniksheri l'stuma mischalikas benen. V'im miforeshen lo v'amai ninami de'ola kreva lemata dimashach v'dav v'chatas ha-oaf. Okay. Should we pull up the diagram already? Yeah. We'll get to the diagram in a second. First, let's just talk about what the scenario is. What's the case? The case is that Rachel needed to bring a korban chatas. And Leah needed to bring Rachel needed to bring a chatas ha-oaf. Leah needed to bring an olas ha-oaf. Okay, this is not their yoledes. They also have to bring yoledes. This is not that. Rachel needed to bring a chatas ha-oaf. Leah needed to bring a olas ha-oaf. Okay? Now they had also given birth. And Rachel needs to bring a nest for her korban yoledes. Leah also needs to bring a nest for her korban yoledes. So basically, they have to bring three nests. Each nest has 2 birds in it. The first nest, one bird will be for Rachel's chatas, and the other bird will be for Leah's ola. The next nest will be, let's say, for Rachel's yoledes, and the next nest will be for Leah's korban yoledes. Okay, fine. Now, what they did was, so they took one nest, and Rachel says, okay, I'm going to take this bird, and it's going to be my chatas. Okay, fine. So we have one bird that's Rachel's chatas. We have another bird, Leah says, this is going to be my ola. Okay, so we have one bird that's already been designated as Rachel's chatas, and another bird that's already been designated, this is going to be Leah's ola. Okay, great. Now there was another, right? Then we have, so that was the chatas, the ola, and then there's stuma and miforeshes. Stuma is what's referred to as I was describing a few minutes ago, that the ideal way is just take a nest, don't designate any birds as a chatas or an ola, just leave it to the kohen to be able to choose as he's doing it. And that way you don't have an issue of him offering a chatas that was supposed to be an ola or fakert, whatever. So that's a stuma, right? So one of the nests wasn't claimed by anybody per se. It wasn't, neither bird was offered, or neither bird was designated to be the chatas or the ola. That's the stuma. And then the third nest, they had said, this one's going to be a chatas and this one's going to be an ola. I don't think they necessarily designated whose nest it's going to be, but they said this is going to be a chatas and this is going to be an ola. And they gave all 3 nests to the kohen, and now let's see what happens. Okay, so now let's look at this diagram. So there's a lot going on in the diagram. There's a key at the bottom. At the bottom of the diagram, there's a key. And in the key, you could see that a blue bird, I hope those look like birds. I made those icons. They're just like circles and triangles and stuff. I hope they look like birds. So the blue bird icons are chatases. The gold bird icons are olas. Now, a red background means that it's Rachel's. A white background means that it's Leah's. And a green background means that it's an undefined one. It's up to the kohen to decide if it's going to be chatas or if it's going to be an ola, but it's betzim, it's undefined. It's up to the kohen to decide. Now, okay, so don't worry about any of this stuff that's grayed out. We'll get to everything. So in the top left one, the one that isn't grayed out. So what do we see? What are we looking at? What we're looking at is a mizbeach. That is a mizbeach, as we've seen diagrams of the mizbeach. It's kind of a side view. You can see the yesod at the bottom, and then the sovev above that, and then you get to the top of the mizbeach. So that's the mizbeach. And I've made the top half of the mizbeach gold to represent that this is where the olas should be, and birds that are offered in the yellow part are offered as olas. And the bottom part is blue because that is where the chatas should be offered below the chutas sikra. So as we see there, it says expected, meaning what really should be happening is that Leah's ola should be offered above. Now also one of the undefined ones, the kohen will say, I'm going to offer it above as an ola. And also from the third nest, they had designated one of them to be an ola, and that ola should be offered as an ola. And similarly, in the blue section, Rachel's chatas should be offered down there as a chatas. One of the undefined birds would be offered below as a chatas. And also the bird from the third nest that was designated as a chatas should be offered below as a chatas. That's the expectation, right? That's what we would hope would happen. Now, the Mishnah runs through three possibilities of what the kohen did in practice. We just said what ideally should happen, but this isn't what happened. What ideally should happen is not what happened. So we're going to see what did happen, and therefore how we have to pick up the pieces. I'm going to drink a little more water. So if the kohen offered all 6 of the birds above the chutas sikra, okay, well then all the olas are good to go. So Leah's ola, check. One of the olas the ola from the stuma, check. The ola from the third nest, check. However, Rachel's chatas and the stuma that was supposed to be a chatas and the chatas from the third nest, those are all no good, and you're going to have to, right, those are puzzle. So the 3 olas are kosher, and the 3 that were supposed to be chatases are puzzle, and you're going to have to redo those. Alternatively, if all were offered below the chutas sikra, so you have a similar outcome. Rachel's chatas, good to go. The undefined chatas that the kohen offered as a chatas also works as a chatas. And the one from the third nest that was designated as a chatas also works as a chatas. But the 3 olas are no good, and they have to be, you're going to have to redo those. Those are all puzzle. And finally, if the kohen offered 3 of them above the chutas sikra and 3 of them below the chutas sikra, we have to assume the worst case scenario happened and pick up the pieces from there, which means that from the first nest where Rachel said, this bird is going to be my chatas, we have to assume that chatas was offered above, and it's possible. We have to assume that Leah's ola was offered below, possible. Now, in terms of the undefined ones, that's no problem, right? One of them was offered above as an ola, great. The other was offered below as a chatas, perfect. That's all good. And then when it came to the third nest, where one was supposed to be a chatas, we have to assume that it was above as an ola, possible. And the one that was supposed to be the ola was offered below as a chatas, possible. So out of all 6 in that scenario, the only ones that are valid are going to be the 2 from the undefined one, from the stuma. One was offered as an ola, the other was offered as a chatas. So they could divide it between them. Rachel could say, okay, fine, I'll take the chatas. Leah could say, okay, I'll take the ola. And then they have to pick up the pieces from there, and each will have to figure out what. So let's say, if Rachel says, I'll take this one as my chatas, well then she'll have to still bring another chatas, right? Because she had to bring a chatas anyways, and also an ola as part of her yoledes. But kilu, okay. So those are all those possibilities. Now, the question is, why did we say that, we said that from the third nest, right? We said that from the third nest, the ola was offered below the chut sikra as a chatas, and we're saying it's possible. We're saying that the only ones that are valid are the undefined ones. But one second, that third nest that was supposed to be for, I don't know, let's say Leah, right? That third nest that was supposed to be Leah's korban yoledes. So we're saying the chatas was offered above the chut sikra, it's possible, and we're saying that the ola was offered below the chut sikra, it's possible. But one second, if Leah's ola was offered below the chut sikra as a korban chatas, it should work for her as her korban chatas. Why are we saying that it's possible? That's the question. If Rabbi Yeshua says that an ola was offered below the chut sikra as a chatas, is a chatas, so that third nest, the korban ola from the third nest, which was designated as an ola, but was then offered below the chut sikra as a chatas, should be a chatas, and it should work for Leah as her chatas from that nest. So again, so says the Gemara Tashma, chatas ve'ola, right? So there was a chatas, an ola, right? Chatas for Rachel, an ola for Leah, v'stuma, and there was another nest where it was undefined, and miforeshes, and a third nest where they said, this one's going to be a chatas, this is going to be an ola. Also, kulan l'mayla, mechza kasha, mechza pasul. If the kohen did all of them above the chut sikra, so then the three olas are kasha, the three chatases are pasul. Kulan l'mata, if all six were done below the chut sikra, mechza kasha, mechza pasul. The three chatases are kasha, the three olas are pasul. Chetzin l'mata, chetzin l'mata. If half were above and half were below, we have to assume for the worst case scenario, einik shere ella stuma. The only ones of the bunch that are going to be kosher is the nest that was stuma, the ola and the chatas, and let Rachel and Leah divide that up between them. And Rachel could say, okay, fine, the chatas was for me, Leah says the ola was for me, fine. But but from that third nest where they said this is going to be the chatas and this is going to be the ola, neither of those are good. But v'amai, why not? Ni'inabi the ola karva limata. Granted that the ola was offered below the chut sikra, but so what? Timasha f'ta'avei chatas ha-oaf. Let it become a chatas ha-oaf, and it should be valid for whoever was offering that third nest. V'chitema hadlo Rabbi Yeshua. And if you're going to say, but a chatas below the chut sikra, an ola offered below the chut sikra becoming a chatas is only the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. Maybe the mission is not Rabbi Yeshua. But can you really say that? Okay, Cheve, now here's the hard part. Can you really say that? So Cheve, so far we've learned two Mishnayos from MASECHTA KINIM. What's considered to be like the most impossible Masechta. We've learned two Mishnayos. The whole Masechta is 15 Mishnayos. Not bad. We've learned like an eighth of the Masechta. Now we're going to get up to 20%. We're going to learn. This is the final Mishnah in MASECHTA KINIM. It's very, very difficult. Tashma, come in here. Ha'isha she'amra hari'olai kain im eiled zacher. A woman says that if I give birth to a yingle, if I give birth to a boy, I am going to bring a nest. I'm going to bring a nest as korbanos. And now this is a neder. This is a neder. She's saying, I'm going to bring a nest of korbanos. This is not her korban yoledes. This is not her korban yoledes. That's a chova. That's an obligation. This is a neder. She says, I'm going to bring a nest. Now, you can't bring a chatas as a neder. You can't say, I'm going to bring a korban chatas. If you have to bring a korban chatas, you bring a korban chatas. But you can't bring a chatas as a neder. Meaning, this nest, there are two birds in the nest. They're both olas. So basically, she says, if I give birth to a boy, I'm going to bring a nest of olas, two olas. So like, Kenim Eilid Zacher, Yolda Zacher, and sure enough, Baruch Hashem, Mazdav, she gave birth to a boy. So now, in addition to her chova to her nest that she's going to bring for her korban, which, assuming that she can't afford the sheep, so then one bird in the nest will be an ola, the other will be a chatas. So in addition to that, she also has to bring another nest of 2 olas. So MASECHTA KINIM, so she brings 2 nests, achas lenidra, one for her neder, and I just want to be clear over here, by the way. I mentioned it before. I mean, it's probably sounding like I don't want you to like listen to the rest of the shir. I do want you to listen to it, but I do also want to be clear. This is a very difficult Mishnah, and it has no relevance to our sugya. It's not like we're going to say, something above, below. No. It has no relevance to our. I mean, it's relevant to Kinim, but the whole relevance over here is that at the end it's going to quote Rabbi Yoshua to say, and therefore we're going to say, well, you see, it's quoting Rabbi Yoshua, so it must be the opinion of Rabbi Yoshua. That's the whole point. But this very difficult Mishnah really has nothing to do with like our sugya, really. So we're going to do this really hard Mishnah because at the end it says Amar Rabbi Yoshua. Back to our Mishnah. But it is very cool. It's very fun. And I got all these diagrams. Hopefully they're good diagrams. I hope that they help. It would be impossible without diagrams. Otherwise, just be like talking and you'd have no clue what I'm talking about. So hopefully with the diagrams, it makes it work. But anyways, so okay, right? So we say, MASECHTA KINIM, she brings 2 nests, achas lenidra v'achas l'chavasa, one for her neder, and one for her chova. Her neder is going to be, what do we say? L'chavasa, nisan. Okay, fine. Let's go back to for a second. Nisan l'kohen, and she gives the 2 nests to the kohen. Now a kohen tzarich lasos and shalosh l'man v'achas l'mata. Now, what's of course the kohen supposed to do? 3 of them are supposed to be olas, and 1 of them is supposed to be a chatas, right? The chova is 1 ola and 1 chatas, and the neder is 2 olas, so it should be 3 olas and 1 chatas. Lo asakin, he didn't do it though. He didn't do this. He didn't know. Nobody told him, I guess. Ela also shtaim l'mayla v'shtaim l'mata. Instead, what he did was he saw, it's 2 nests. Okay, each one must be 1 chatas and 1 ola. So he offered 2 of the birds above the chutas sikra as olas, 2 below the chutas sikra as chatases. V'lo nimlach, and he didn't ask anybody. Tzricha shetavi od preda achas v'takrivena lemala mimin echad. Mishne minim tavi shtaim. So we say that she needs to bring another bird, and that is if they were all the same type. What does that mean? Okay, so let's look at the diagram. Okay, so as the title says, I will bring a nest if I give birth to a boy. Okay, amazing. And there you see in the diagram, she needs to bring, so what's expected is, what she needs to bring is 3 olas and a chatas. And she has these 2 nests, these 4 birds, and she gives it to the kohen. But what the kohen did was he offered half and half, i.e. he offered 2 olas, and what he thought were 2 chatases, but one of those chatases was really supposed to be an ola. So the solution is, you can see at the bottom, the solution is, she has to bring 1 more ola. She has to bring 1 more ola. There was supposed to be 3 olas, only 2 olas were offered. She has to bring another ola set, right, to make up the 3rd ola. Okay, 1 second, just drink a little water. But now, as the Mishnah said, mimin echad, you see, that assumes, though, that all of the birds were the same type. Let's say turtle doves. We're all turtle, right. If all 4 birds were, let's say, turtle doves or young doves. But so now in this case, just to clarify, in this case, she didn't say anything about if the neder is going to be, I'm going to, if I give birth to a boy, I'm going to bring turtle doves or I'm going to bring young doves. No, she just said, I'm going to bring 2 olas. Okay, and then she came to the kohen and she gave 2 nests. Both of them were turtle doves, or both of them were young doves. Okay, the kohen offered 2 for chatas, 2 for olas. So she needed 3 olas. She's got to make up the next she's got to make up the one ola that was missed. However, in this same scenario, what happens if, so now if you look at the key, the white background is young doves and the dark background is turtle doves. So now what happens if she brought two nests, but one nest, one second, okay. So one nest was turtle doves, or what's this, young doves is the white one. So one nest was young doves, and the other nest, however, was not young doves, it was turtle doves. Okay, fine. So now what needs to happen? She needs to offer a korban yoledes, so that's one ola and one chatas, and also the neder, two more olas. And it doesn't matter if she didn't say anything about what, turtle doves, young doves, so therefore it doesn't matter if the chova is when I say chova, it's an ola and a chatas, and the neder is two olas, okay? So it doesn't matter if the chova is offered from the young doves and the neder from the turtle doves, or if the ola, or if the chova was the turtle doves and the neder was the young doves, it doesn't matter. Okay, so she brought these two nests, one was turtle doves, one was young doves. What did the kohen do? So now we don't know what the kohen did. So the kohen offered two of them above and two of them below. Now we don't know though the order. Did he which did he do first? Did he first do the young doves? Did he first do the turtle doves? We don't know. We know that two were offered above, two were offered below, but the two nests were two different types of birds, and we don't know was the first nest that was offered the turtle doves or the young doves. We don't know. So therefore, we have to play out all the possibilities. So in the event that the young doves were offered as the chova, were offered first, okay. So then that means that the turtle doves were what should have then been offered both as olas. Only one of them was offered as an ola, the other was offered as a chatas. So we're going to have to bring another turtle dove so that we have two turtle doves, right? One turtle dove was already offered as an ola. That's great. Now we can't bring if the first of the neder was a turtle dove, the second bird of the neder is also going to have to be a turtle dove. You can't say, oh, okay, I'll just bring another bird. It doesn't matter if it's a turtle dove or a young dove. No. If the first bird of the neder was a turtle dove, so then the second one's going to have to be a turtle dove. So she has to bring another turtle dove. The thing is, we don't actually know if the young dove was offered first. It could be that it was the opposite. It could be that the turtle doves were what was offered first, and that the young dove was offered as the neder, and there was one young dove that was offered. So if you just bring one turtle dove now, it can't join up with that one young dove. So you also have to bring a young dove as well. So therefore, either way, whether the young doves, or how about this, whether the turtle doves, one turtle dove was offered for the neder, so you'll bring a turtle dove to match with it, or whether it was the young dove that was offered as the neder, so you'll have another young dove to match with it. So basically, you have to bring two more birds, one turtle dove and one young dove. So again, if it was all one min, if all four birds were the same type, well then she'll just have to bring one more bird of that type. But if the two nests were two different types, then she'll have to bring one bird from each type in order to fulfill her neder. Okay. Moving on. So now, Persha Nidra tzrich lavi od gimel predin mimin echad umibeis minin tavi dalid. Okay. Getting hairier, moving deeper. In this case, she didn't just say, if I give birth to a yingle, I'm going to bring a nest as a neder. She said, I'm going to bring turtle doves as a neder. Or I'm going to bring young doves as an neder. But then she forgot. She forgot what she said. She forgot what she said. She forgot what she said. So she's got to bring a neder, but she doesn't remember if it was turtle doves or young doves. Okay. And then she brings 4 birds to the kohen. And she brings, let's just say, so let's just say she brings 4 turtle doves to the kohen. Okay. She brings 4 turtle doves to the kohen. She brings 4, and she knows that she doesn't remember what she said about her neder. Was the neder for turtle doves, young doves? But she knows that right now she's bringing 4 turtle doves. It could also be 4 young doves, whatever. But all 4 of the same type. It could be turtle doves, young doves. It doesn't matter. So now, let's see. So let's look at the diagram. So what do we have here? So I will bring a nest of something if I give birth to a boy. Okay. Now she brings all 4 of the. She brings all 4 birds, all of the same type. So now, one possibility that is expected, because again, we don't remember what the neder was. The neder could have been about turtle doves, could have been about young doves. We don't know. So one possibility of what needs to be offered is that the 2 olas would be young doves, as you see by the 2 white backgrounds. The other possibility that could be expected that we have to be concerned about is that what she needs to bring, what she needs is that 2 olas from the turtle doves. That's another possibility. So basically, what we see in those 2 kind of things is that there will be 3 olas and a chatas. Okay, and one possibility is that of the 3 olas, 2 of them need to be young doves for her neder, and the other possibility is that of the 3 olas, 2 of them would need to be turtle doves for her neder. And what ends up happening? So she brings, let's say, 4 turtle doves. She brings 4 turtle doves, but the kohen, instead of offering 3 as a neder, 3 as a ola and 1 as a chatas, again, he offers 2 as olas and 2 as chatases. So now, what are the possibilities? So now, again, she doesn't remember what the neder was about. Was it about chatases or was it about olas? What? No. She doesn't remember what the neder was about. Was it turtle doves or was it young doves? So now in this scenario, so all 4 birds that she brought were turtle doves. 2 of them were offered as olas. 3 of them needed to be offered as olas. So she's missing 1. Okay, so she'll have to bring an extra turtle dove in case her neder was for turtle doves. But at the same time, it could be that the neder was for young doves. So she has to bring 2 young doves as well because she didn't bring any of those. So therefore she's going to have to bring 2 in case that's what her neder was. So in this case, she would have to bring 1 extra turtle dove and 2 young doves to make sure that she's satisfied her neder. And now in this example, I said that she brought 4 turtle doves, but if she would have brought 4 young doves, it would just basically be the opposite. She'd have to bring 1 young dove and 2 turtle doves. But that was if all 4 of the birds that she brought, both nests were turtle doves. But what if one nest was turtle doves and the other nest was young doves, and we don't know which was offered as the chova and which was offered as the neder? So now what happens in this case? So one possible expected outcome, because again, we don't know if the neder was for we don't know if the neder was for turtle doves or for young doves. So one possible expected outcome would be that if the neder was for young doves, so then you would have the turtle doves be offered for the chova and the young doves be offered for the neder. That would be one possible outcome. The other possible hoped for expected outcome would be that, well, if the neder was for the turtle doves, well, then the young doves would have been offered for the chova and the turtle doves for the neder, and that would have been perfect. But again, she doesn't remember. She doesn't know what the neder was all about. So now what happens? So we're saying that she brought that one nest was turtle doves, one nest was young doves. So now in the event, now we don't know what the kohen did. We don't know what he offered first. We know that he offered two above and two below, but we don't know in which order. We don't know. Did he offer first the young doves, the turtle doves? What was the chova? What was the neder? So if the chova was the turtle doves, if he first offered the turtle doves, okay, and then he offered the young doves, and he offered one of the young doves as a ola. Okay, so then he'll have to bring another young dove, right? In case the neder was for young doves, so he'll have to bring another young dove. So you see that in the solution, and also two turtle doves in case the neder was for turtle doves. Okay, and in the event that the young doves were offered first, and so if the young doves were offered first and the turtle doves were offered second, so you would bring one extra turtle dove in case it was the turtle doves were the neder, as we're already bringing two turtle doves. But in case the neder was the young doves, well then if the young doves were offered first, well then you haven't offered any young doves for the neder, so you're also going to have to bring another two young doves for the ola. So basically in the end, you're going to have to bring, right, because we don't know what was offered first, we don't know what was offered second, we also don't know what the neder was bichlal, if it was for young doves or turtle doves. So essentially, in this case, you have to bring two extra young doves and two turtle doves. Okay, Givaldi, how are you guys enjoying MASECHTA KINIM? There's an entire MASECHTA of this. Now, it's only 3 prakim, so I think in Daf Yomi terms, that's just a matter of I think it's 3 days or something, but this is, this is crazy stuff. Are you managing? I imagine that the diagrams make it possible, but how's it working out? Okay, but now we're just kind of getting deeper, friends. We're just getting deeper in this. Okay. Kava nidra tzricha shatavi od 5 predin lemaila mimin echad umibeis min tavi 6. Okay, now what she said was, she says, if I give birth to a boy, I'm going to bring I'm going to bring a nest of birds. And not just that, she says she's going to bring turtle doves or young doves, and she doesn't remember. She doesn't remember what it was. So she says, right, if I give birth to a boy, I'm going to bring turtle doves, or I'm going to bring young doves. Now she doesn't remember what it is. And not only that, she said that I'm going to bring it together with the chova. Right? She says, I'm going to bring a neder together with my chova. Right? And when I give birth to a boy, so I'm going to have to bring a chova, I'm going to have to bring a yoledes, a korban yoledes. And when I do, I'm going to bring a neder together with my chova. Meaning that up until now, we've been saying, okay, well, let's just figure out what's outstanding, and she'll just bring that, right? If she just needs to bring one turtle dove, so she'll just bring one turtle dove. But here she's saying, no, she can't just bring one turtle dove because she needs to bring the neder with the chova. There's no such thing as just bringing something on its own. And unless the neder was brought together with the chova, it's possible, and you're gonna have to bring it together with the chova. So we have to take that into account. So in the event that, so now she brings two nests, okay? And for now we'll assume that all 4 birds, right? Both nests, all 4 birds are the same type. They're all turtle doves, or they're all young doves. So let's just assume that they're all turtle doves, okay? So one possible expected outcome would be that she was supposed to bring the young doves, and okay, so she offered, this would be great. She offered, right, the kohen offers 3 above and 1 below. Perfect. Another possibility is that the neder was that she's going to bring turtle doves, and turtle doves were brought, and 3 turtle doves were offered as olas and 1 as the chatas. That would be great. But now, okay, fine. So now what did she do? She brought 4 turtle doves, let's say. She could have brought 4 young doves, but she brought 4 turtle doves is what we're going to work with. And the Kohen then offered 2 of them below and 2 of them above. So now, so she offered, so she brought 4 turtle doves in our example. And the thing is, so she offered the first net. So the Kohen offered the first nest as the chova. Great. But then the second nest was supposed to both be olas, but he only offered one as an ola. The other one, he offered as a chatas, which means that the neder was not brought properly with the chova, right? She said that when I bring my neder, I'm going to bring it with the chova. So she has to redo. I mean, even if the neder was for turtle doves, she would still have to redo the turtle doves because it was invalid since it wasn't properly offered together with the chova. So she's going to have to right? She says, right, I'm going to bring the neder with the chova. The neder was not properly offered with the chova, so she has to redo even the turtle doves. So she's going to have to bring 2 turtle doves. But again, she said she's going to bring turtle doves together with the chova, right? So she was supposed to bring 3 olas. So she's also going to have to bring together with that a 3rd turtle dove, which represents the ola from the chova. So she's going to have to bring 3 turtle doves. And also another 2 young doves, just in case the neder was for young doves, right? In case the neder was for young doves. So she's going to have to also bring 2 young doves, which would be brought together with the rest of the bunch, including the one that was as part of the chova, but the chova was turtle doves. So, yeah, whatever. Since the chova was brought turtle doves, so bringing the ola of turtle doves would match up with the chatas that was already brought. Okay, basically bring 1 turtle dove as part of the chova, 2 turtle doves for the neder, just in case it was a turtle dove neder, and another 2 turtle doves for the neder, just in case. No, I'm sorry, and another 2 young doves for the neder in case the neder was young doves. Now, what happens if the 2 nests were not all the same type? What if one nest was turtle doves and the other was young doves? Gonna drink a little water. So one possible expected outcome is that the neder was for young doves, and the turtle doves were offered as the chova, the young doves were offered as the neder. Perfect. The other option would be that the neder was for the turtle doves, and the chova was offered, the Kohen offered the chova from the young doves, and the neder from the turtle doves. Perfect. But we don't know what the neder was. Was the neder turtle doves? Was it young doves? Now she brought 2 nests. One was turtle doves, one was young doves. We don't know which one the Kohen offered first. So now the Kohen offered 2 of them above and 2 of them below. And again, we don't know which one was first and which one was second. So if what the Kohen offered first was the turtle doves, okay. So in that case, so the turtle doves were offered as a chova. What were outstanding, and then he offered the young doves, 1 above and 1 below. But because what he needed to do was offer 2 olas, but he only offered 1 ola. So even the young doves are invalid, right? So what he's going to have to do is he's going to have to bring another 2 young doves, because he said, right, he's going to bring, right, the young dove, right, the neder has to be offered together with the chova, and it wasn't, right? Only 1 ola was offered. You need to offer 2. So you're going to have to redo the young doves. So you're going to have to bring 2 young doves. You're also going to have to bring a turtle dove, because you're going to bring it with the chova, and the chova was turtle doves. So you're going to have to bring another turtle dove together with 2 young doves, because that was incomplete. You only offered one young dove. Now, also, just in case the neder was for turtle doves, you also have to bring 2 turtle doves as well. So far we're already up to 5. But now what happens if it was the opposite? What happens if the chova was not offered from the turtle doves, but the chova was offered from the young doves? Well, in that case, if the turtle was offered from the young doves, well then the chova, right, we're saying that the neder has to be brought with the chova. So if the chova was from the young doves, so then the ola that's going to have to be brought is going to have to be a young dove. So you're going to have to bring another young dove also as part of the chova. So you're going to have to bring 6 birds in that case. Moving on. Nisana lakoin ve'eno. Oh, great. Where are we? We're at. Great. We're almost at the end of this whole balagan. But this is the biggest of the all balagans. This is such a balagan that I didn't even make. It was just I couldn't even make a slide for this. It was just like, okay, we're not sliding this. But basically, what happens in this case is it's complete hefker. Nisana lakoin. She gave them to the kohen. Ve'enu yodas man nasna. She doesn't know what she gave. She doesn't know what the neder was. She doesn't know what she gave. We don't know what, right? Allah hakohen ve'asa ve'enu yodea ma asa. And he doesn't even know what he did. So chatas So basically, this woman says, if I give birth to a boy, I'm going to bring a nest of turtle doves or of young doves. She doesn't remember what she said. She said one of them, but she doesn't remember. She said, I'm going to bring a nest of turtle doves or young doves. She doesn't remember. She also brings 2 nests to the kohen. She doesn't remember what she brought. Was it 4 turtle doves, 4 young doves, 2 turtle doves, 2 young doves? She doesn't remember. And as for the kohen, he doesn't know what he did. Maybe he took all 4 of them and offered them above the chatas sikra, maybe below the chatas sikra, maybe 2 above, 2 below. He doesn't know. So they don't know anything. Okay, so in that case, she's going to have to bring. Well, okay, so in that case, what if she brought 4 turtle doves and the kohen offered all of them above? Well, if that's the case, what do we know? We know that, well, if all of them were offered above, then there was no chatas. So we know that you should. Well, one second. Let's even start over here. She's gonna have to bring 2. She's gonna have to redo the. Okay, she's gonna have to bring 2 turtle doves because she doesn't know what she brought. It could be that she brought only. Could be that she gave only young doves, and the neder was about turtle doves. She doesn't know, so she's gonna have to bring 2 turtle doves, and the same thing for the young doves. She's gonna have to bring 2 young doves because maybe the neder was about young doves, and all she gave was turtle doves. She doesn't know. She's gonna have to do that. Now, she's also gonna have to bring 2 more olas, because what happens if all of the birds were right? If the kohen did all of the birds below. Right, so if all of the birds were offered below the chatas sikra, so then there was no ola. So she's gonna have to bring another bird as the ola. But the thing is, if all of the birds were below the chatas sikra, then that means that one of them was offered as a chatas. Now the thing is, we don't know. We don't know if they were turtle doves, if they were young doves. We don't know. We're talking about we have no clue what's going on over here. So if in case all of them were offered below the chatas sikra. So one of the birds then was off. So then, in terms of right, she had to bring a chatas, right? She had to bring a chova and a neder, which means she had to bring 1 chatas. That chatas was offered, but we don't know was it turtle doves or was it young doves. So therefore, she has to bring 2 more birds for the olas, because the ola is going to have to a pair needs to be the same type, and we don't know if the chatas was a turtle dove or young dove. So she has to bring now a turtle dove and a young dove for the ola, to make sure that she's covering her bases with whatever the chatas was. And she also needs to bring a chatas just in case all of the birds were offered above and there was no chatas, so then she has to bring that as well. So basically, she has to bring 7 birds, right? Because just in case the neder was for turtle doves and she only brought young doves, just in case the neder was for young doves, she only brought turtle doves, so she has to bring 4 birds for the 2 neders. She also has to bring another 2 birds for the 2 olas in case all the birds were below and she doesn't know what the chatas was, so she has to have a ola to match. So that's already 6. And then another in case all the birds were above and there was no chatas, and she has to bring a 7th for a chatas. Ben Azai says it has to be 8 because the chatas would have to be the same as the would have to be the same type as the ola, meaning it goes based on what you did first. So like just in case all of the just in case you bought all turtle doves and they were all above the chatas sikra, now you have to offer the chatas below the chatas sikra. But in case there were turtle doves, even though now she's bringing a turtle dove and a young dove for the ola, but still the chatas is going to have to be the same as whatever they were initially. Anyway, so it says Ben Azai you have to bring 8. That was the Mishnah in Kinim. Oh, so then it says, so Amar Rabbi Yoshua, that's the key. All of that really hard stuff that just took like an hour or something, that was to get to this one line. And that's why I say I can kind of skip this, because all of that stuff here is really just to get to this one line, which is, Amar Rabbi Yoshua says, Rabbi Yoshua, Zeu she'amru, this is what they say, Kishu chai kolo echad, when he's alive, when a sheep, I think, or a ram is alive, there's only one voice, but Ukshu Mace, when it dies, Kolu Zayin, there are 7 voices, because you can like take, the 2 horns, and you can make like chatzotzos, and you can take the sheep and make strings, and then you could take the bones and make flutes and stuff. So basically you can get like 7 different instruments from a dead animal. So here also, out of like one nether that she says, oh, I'm going to bring a nether, all of a sudden you have to bring 7 different birds. No, so what do we see? This is all to say that this is the opinion of Rabbi Yeshua. So meaning, the first 2 Mishnayos that we brought from Kinim, we had legitimate questions that we should say that a ola that was offered below as a chatas, right? If you remember from the second Mishnah in Kinim, we said that there was that 3rd nest that they had designated. One was going to be a chatas, one was going to be ola. We have to be concerned that the ola was offered as a chatas. But so what? If the ola is offered as a chatas, it should be a chatas. And we said, well, maybe that's not Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. Of course it's Rabbi Yeshua's opinion. We just saw that Rabbi Yeshua chimed in over here, which means that these Mishnayos are according to him. So says the Gemara, Eimar da Amar Rabbi Yeshua la'afuka midei me'ila le'meisak le'chova mi'omer. Boom. There you go. I'll say that when Rabbi Yeshua says that an ola that's offered below the chatas sikra as a chatas is a chatas, that's just to say that there's no din me'ila. But a yoledes that is a chova de oraisa to bring a korban yoledes, we're not going to say in that case that an ola that's offered below the chatas sikra as a chatas is such a chatas that it can even satisfy the de oraisa chiv to bring a korban yoledes. No, that he's not going to say. He said that he doesn't have to bring an osha me'ilos, but not to say that a yoledes would be yotzei or korbanos chevre. That was daf ayin zayin and a little bit of daf samach zayin, a little bit of samach ches of MASECHTA Zevachim, and our first deep dive in the 6 years that we've been learning Babble and Talmud. I think that was our first deep dive into Kinim. Boy, I was wondering what was going to happen when we get to Kinim. I was thinking, Taka, when I started making these slides, I was thinking these slides would be good for Kinim. I don't know how good they were. I mean, hopefully they were good, but I mean, Kinim is just really hard. You still have to work through all of this stuff. Sheesh, it's 2:45 in the morning. This stuff was supposed to be available 45 minutes ago. I now have to edit it. It's probably not going to be available till like 5, 6 in the morning. Also, because there's so many slides, it's going to take a really long time for it to compile. I'm going to go to sleep while that's happening. But I'll set an alarm so that I can upload it when it's ready. Okay, so where are we? So that was Daf Samach Zayin. There were 2 sections basically of the Daf. The first section was when an olas ha-oaf is treated as a chatas ha-oaf. We saw the machlokes between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua. And Rabbi Yeshua holds that an olas ha-oaf that is handled below, that is offered below the chatas sikra as a chatas ha-oaf becomes a chatas ha-oaf. Ultimately, we said that specifically with regards to Me'ilah. And then we got into MASECHTA KINIM. We were asking all sorts of questions about, well, in terms of like what's Nogeya to our sugya, that if Rabbi Yeshua in fact says that an ola that's offered as a chatas, so then even by Kinim, that should be relevant, to which he said, no, not for the mitzvah de oraisa of korban yoledes, but for Me'ilah, we could say there's no din Me'ilah by an ola that's offered below as a chatas. And then we got into like major kinim stuff, trying to figure out what happens. But yeah, that was pretty interesting stuff. I hope you enjoyed Daf Samach Zayin of MASECHTA Kinim, MASECHTA Zevachim. Cheers.